globally. His dream was brought to fruition by his son, Dorabji Tata, and thus was born Tata Iron and Steel in Jamshedpur in 1907. At the turn of the 21st century, fueled by its global aspirations, Tata Steel expanded its footprint to Southeast Asia in Singapore and Thailand. Acquisition of Chorus in Europe in 2007 placed it amongst the top global steel companies in the world. In 2015, Tata Steel set up a state-of-the-art integrated steel plant at Kalinganagar, Odisha in India. The Phase 2 expansion of Kalinganagar steel plant from 3 million TPA to 8 million TPA is currently underway. The company is all set to pursue domestic growth with its acquisition of Bhushan Steel Limited and the steel business of Usha Martin. This forms part of the overall strategy to increase its India footprint, build capacity in long products, and enrich the product portfolio. Besides steel manufacturing facilities, the company has mining assets in the state of Jharkhand and Odisha in India. Tata Steel has evolved into a leading steel manufacturer, catering to diverse market segments. In its trend-setting journey, spanning more than a century, Tata Steel has contributed immensely towards the well-being of the planet and people. Guided by its vision to be the global steel industry benchmark for value creation and corporate citizenship, Tata Steel is poised to lead the future.
At Ashok Leyland, we've been in the business of mobility for close to 70 years. We are a part of the Hinduja Group, a transnational conglomerate spread over 100 countries and 6 continents, with diversified business holdings across 10 verticals. Today, we are the second largest manufacturer of commercial vehicles in India. We are the third largest manufacturer of buses worldwide. We are present in more than 50 countries, besides being market leaders for buses in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. We have a significant presence in the countries of the Gulf Cooperative Council and Africa, dominating in the bus and truck segments. Our products reach out to over 70 million people. Yet every day, we strive to find new ways of enhancing the lives of the people around us. We're constantly innovating for the future, helping redefine mobility, designing better products, and finding better ways to produce them. Our products are defined by their practicality and functionality. Every customer solution we provide is driven by thoughtful innovation. With the introduction of BS6, Ashok Leyland has taken the proven IEGR technology up a notch to introduce the iGen 6 engine technology, which enhances the engine performance and durability further. With lower diesel exhaust fluid DEF consumption and compact design, iGen 6 lowers the cost of operation, offers better fluid efficiency and low maintenance. The unique mid-NOx strategy ensures overall lower cost of ownership. Avatar is a revolutionary, industry-first modular truck platform from Ashok Leyland that is powered by the iGen 6 technology. Avatar's incredibly diverse range of options lets you customize your truck based on your load, terrain, and application requirements, spread across the entire range from 18.5 to 55 tons. The Avatar range of trucks comes with multiple options of axle configuration, loading spans, cabins, suspension, and drivetrains on a single platform that offers you a whole new trucking experience. Our vehicles serve our customers in remote locations, and we ensure that every vehicle is fitted with monitors that track its vital parameters. With an early warning system, we make sure no one is left stranded. The joy of children using our product inspires us. Innovations in our school buses have always kept children's needs in mind. We also make sure that they are the safest buses on the road. We are working towards using cleaner energy sources to drive our vehicles. Our electric vehicle program is set to redefine the future of environment-friendly transportation. Our greatest test, however, is a...
Hello. Anyone from IT? Namita?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Because last time we had a bit of an audio issue, that's why I'm checking.
Okay.
ठीक है.
It's live.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Namita, you can hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Very well.
So I've joined. I'll be here whenever you tell me to start. We'll start.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
matter of national security. We are the largest supplier of logistics vehicles to the Indian Army. Our vehicles perform under the toughest conditions on our national borders. Our engines not only help safeguard our nation, but also help power businesses. The power solutions we provide are amongst the most reliable in the market. Our belief in partnership for growth has kept customers' progress at the heart of every solution we provide. To us, partnerships happen on many levels. Our driver training institutes have produced close to 1 million highly skilled drivers across the country. In the remotest villages of India, we have revolutionized the way children are being educated. Through key collaborations and innovative teaching methods, we are empowering the children of our villages. To us, mobility is more than just the business we are in. In our world, it signifies progress. It means enabling success to our customers, enhancing their lives. Mobility for us is everything in life.
In this shifting, driven world, the one thing you can be sure of is change. It's tough to stay ahead, but that's okay, just as long as you always know who to count on. We are Cummins. We create the power solutions people depend on. It's what we've done for more than 100 years. Sure, all that history makes us proud, but the future pulls us forward. However good we are today, we know the best is yet to come. Our business is endlessly shaped by our customers. What they need defines us. And what they say makes us stronger. Who are they? Everybody. But whether their challenges are personal or global, we do everything in our power to solve them. Because no matter where you're headed, we've got your back. And we're with you all the way. And we never forget how our actions impact the people and the world around us. So whenever there are choices, we make sure we do the right thing. This is what we do to power a more prosperous world. And that is never going to change. That's why we're always trusted, always innovating, always customer-driven, always responsible. For a world that's always on.
At Bharat Forge Limited, we don't believe in pause buttons. 50 years ago, we hit play, and we haven't stopped since. We move, we go places, and we take our legacy with us. We started small, but our dreams were big. And we chased them tirelessly with all our heart. That's what brought us to the top. To the world's biggest names. And to people's lives. We're committed to partnering greatness, no matter where we go. From India to Germany, to France to Sweden, and now USA. We always go that extra mile and bring the best to wherever our clients are, and we never settle. Over 50 years, we have pioneered innovations across fields. Our expertise keeps sharpening. Our credits keep increasing. And our relationships, they only keep growing. We are fueled by our dreams. Inspired by the next possibility. We nurture ideas, give them wings, make them soar. We seek to build a better, smarter, and brighter tomorrow. And we will. Because that's just who we are. Driven, caring, innovative, and unstoppable.
Welcome to the world of Tata Steel, a flagship company of the global business conglomerate, the Tata Group. Tata Steel is one of the world's most geographically diversified steel producers, with operations and commercial presence across the world. The story began with the dream of one man, Jamsetji Nusserwanji Tata, a pioneer, a visionary, a man ahead of his times. He had his heart set on building a steel plant in India that would compare with the best globally. His dream was brought to fruition by his son, Dorabji Tata, and thus was born Tata Iron and Steel in Jamshedpur in 1907. At the turn of the 21st century, fueled by its global aspirations, Tata Steel expanded its footprint to Southeast Asia in Singapore and Thailand. Acquisition of Chorus in Europe in 2007 placed it amongst the top global steel companies in the world. In 2015, Tata Steel set up a state-of-the-art integrated steel plant at Kalinganagar, Odisha in India. The Phase 2 expansion of Kalinganagar steel plant from 3 million TPA to 8 million TPA is currently underway. The company is all set to pursue domestic growth with its acquisition of Bhushan Steel Limited and the steel business of Usha Martin. This forms part of the overall strategy to increase its India footprint, build capacity in long products, and enrich the product portfolio. Besides steel manufacturing facilities, the company is mining assets in the state of Jharkhand and Odisha in India. Tata Steel has evolved into a leading steel manufacturer, catering to diverse market segments. In its trend-setting journey, spanning more than a century, Tata Steel has contributed immensely towards the well-being of the planet and people. Guided by its vision to be the global steel industry benchmark for value creation and corporate citizenship, Tata Steel is poised to lead the future.
At Ashok Leyland, we've been in the business of mobility for close to 70 years. We are a part of the Hinduja Group, a transnational conglomerate spread over 100 countries and 6 continents, with diversified business holdings across 10 verticals. Today, we are the second largest manufacturer of commercial vehicles in India. We are the third largest manufacturer of buses worldwide. We are present in more than 50 countries, besides being market leaders for buses in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. We have a significant presence in the countries of the Gulf Cooperative Council and Africa, dominating in the bus and truck segments. Our products reach out to over 70 million people. Yet every day, we strive to find new ways of enhancing the lives of the people around us. We're constantly innovating for the future, helping redefine mobility, designing better products, and finding better ways to produce them. Our products are defined by their practicality and functionality. Every customer solution we provide is driven by thoughtful innovation. With the introduction of BS6, Ashok Leyland has taken the proven IEGR technology up a notch to introduce the iGen 6 engine technology, which enhances the engine performance and durability further. With lower diesel exhaust fluid DEF consumption and compact design, iGen 6 lowers the cost of operation, offers better fluid efficiency and low maintenance. The unique mid-knock strategy ensures overall lower cost of ownership. Avatar is a revolutionary, industry-first modular truck platform from Ashok Leyland that is powered by the iGen 6 technology. Avatar's incredibly diverse range of options lets you customize your truck based on your load, terrain, and application requirements, spread across the entire range from 18.5 to 55 tons. The
Divya, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Very clear. ठीक है.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Mr. Sondi.
Afternoon, good afternoon. Are we on mute?
Yes, sir. Someone can speak.
No, we
good
can hear
afternoon.
you. We can hear you.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, Doc. Afternoon. Are we starting on time?
Yes, sir.
Think so.
The delegate should be joining.
Joined, yeah.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Fasilata. This is Dr. Ashish Desai.
Take it. And I have to call out the names as well.
Ashish, we still have 6 minutes. We should, we'll start only when everybody is joined, right?
Yeah, we are just everybody expecting everybody to join in the coming few minutes itself.
Right.
Renuka, what's the drill? You're going to...
I will start off the event and session and invite you to speak, and then I'll invite the other speakers one by one. I can't hear you, Vipin. Yeah,
Sorry, and the end for closing remarks
I
as
will
well.
invite you again. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, CB.
Good afternoon, CB.
Vipin is here, and Professor Datta is here.
Where is
CB,
young CP?
CB, you are on mute.
Sorry. I was talking to myself. Hi, Vipin. Hi, Soumitra. Well masked and covered.
Hello, we missed you yesterday, Chandrajit.
Yes. This was, I'll explain to you offline
Okay.
where I
I
was.
assume it was something very important because we had a wonderful launch and we missed you.
Yeah. I missed it, actually. Yeah.
CB is not easy to find. So
I was summoned somewhere. My diary is not in my control, as you know. So
I
many,
can really understand CB. I don't know how you manage it.
Yeah. Soumitra, all well? I see you well masked, so you must be in the middle
I'm
of the...
actually taking the call from the airport, so I hope
Oh
there's
my
no
God.
disturbance at the end, but thank you so much, for including us.
Yeah. It's tough times there now. I mean, it's, I find the number of cases quite tough there. Vipin, Madras, Delhi.
Chennai.
Chennai.
Yeah. I'm here every week.
Good morning to Delhi from Geneva. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you and see you very
Excellent.
clearly. Great to see you. Yeah.
Good to see you. We were looking at the tweet of Minister Goyal last night together over dinner, and I'm
Right.
quite happy.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, he was supposed to do a video for the event like last year, but it fell through. But I guess the tweet is almost more impactful given he has a few billion, two-digit million followers, so that's quite good.
Good afternoon, Professor Vijayaraghavan. You're probably on mute. Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Great to see you. Welcome.
Who has 2 million followers?
So I think he was talking. He's dropped off. I know there he is. That was Dr. Wunsch from the WIPO. He was talking about the commerce.
Okay.
Dr. Saraswat, good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon to all. Good afternoon, Professor Vijayaraghavan.
Good afternoon, Dr. Saraswat. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Ashish, we have all joined, so
I think we're waiting for Amitabh
Sure,
Kant.
CB. We're just waiting for Mr. Kant.
One second.
Should we start CB 1 o'clock? I mean, we'll follow up with Amitabh's office. Yeah.
Sir, we just contacted office of Mr. Amitabh Kant. He's joining us in a while. But with your permission, we can start perhaps.
Yeah. Thank you. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a very, very warm welcome to each one of you to the CII Global Innovation Conclave and India launch of the Global Innovation Index 2021, organized by the Confederation of Indian Industry in partnership with NITI Aayog, Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India, and WIPO. Innovation is widely recognized as a central driver of economic growth and development. Today's India launch session of the Global Innovation Index 2021 is to commemorate all the efforts put forth by ecosystem players and to encourage them to refer to the GII report while they embark on their innovation pursuits. Confederation of Indian Industry is proud to be associated with GII as its founding knowledge partner since its inception. Today is both a moment of pleasure and pride for us to host the India launch of the Global Innovation Index 2021. To begin with the launch session, I'd like to invite Mr. Vipin Sondhi, Chairman CI National Committee on R&D, Technology and Innovation, and MD and CEO Ashok Leyland for his welcome address.
Thank you, Renuka, and Dr. Saraswat, Professor Vijayaraghavan, Shri Amitabh Kant, Mr. Darren Tang, Professor Shaumitra Datta, Dr. Sacha, CB, ladies and gentlemen, namaste. On behalf of CII, I am privileged to extend a very warm welcome to the eminent personalities and the participants at the CII Global Innovation Conclave and India launch of the Global Innovation Index 2021. The world is indeed at a cusp of transition from one of the worst pandemics that it's ever witnessed to a phase of recovery and an era of growth. Innovation is going to be the prime driver which will help the world navigate through this transformation. Innovation is the ability to see change as an opportunity, not as a threat. And these words from no other than Steve Jobs himself, aptly suited to us in India and are still applicable at all points in time, especially now. The need of the hour is inclusive innovation, and it's been rightfully reflected in the approach by WIPO in its Global Innovation Index, which consists of around 80 indicators, including measures on political environment, education, infrastructure, and knowledge creation of the economy. The different metrics that the GII offers can be used not only to monitor performance and benchmark developments, but also to improve the innovation ecosystem and the performance of economies. And over the last few years, India has witnessed not only the rise of the innovation economy, but also the outstanding pace of innovation with government, industry, academia, and importantly, vibrant young startups joining the bandwagon. Frugal innovation has been the focal point. We are experiencing it in various forms. It brings in the speed of innovation, simplicity of processes, and cost minimization, while keeping the focus on customer value. PPE kits, N95 masks, sanitizers are few real-life, recent examples of frugal innovation at the very grassroots level that we witnessed in India during the pandemic. Starting at zero in March 2020, we now produce 500,000 PPE suits daily, or capable of producing them. And we've been able to effectively address both speed and scale through frugal innovation. This is a real-life case study of transition from scarcity of resources to abundance during the pandemic. And industries have come together to address the shortage of oxygen, setting up oxygen generator plants and upgrading existing facilities of industrial oxygen for medical purposes. We also witnessed frugal innovation in the area of education. And now many children, not all I'm afraid, but many children in distant villages can attend school and study using a smartphone. And this exemplifies the idea that changing circumstances should be viewed as an opportunity to innovate. As for the GII, India is amongst the top 10 nations in terms of research publications, which effectively demonstrates the R&D capabilities of our higher education institution. However, our performance on innovation achievement, application of research to the real world is quite dismal, to be candid. And that bridge has to be created between national laboratories and capability to deliver. For India to be amongst the top 25 innovative nations, we will need to focus our efforts on a higher conversion of innovative ideas to real-life commercial purposes. Co-innovation, co-creation through industry, academia, government collaboration is the answer for faster and higher conversion. And the three sectors need to come together. CII will play a crucial role in spearheading this transformative initiative for Team India by creating relevant fora and bringing governments, institutions, and industries together. And it's the right time to measure our performance through GII indicators, identify gaps where India lacks compared to the global ecosystem, and then set up a plan of action. And this index will help pave the way to strengthen India's innovation performance and catapult our growth story of Make in India, made for the world, create in India, and be globally competitive. So thank you very much, and I return you to Renuka.
Thank you, Mr. Sondi. May I now invite Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General, Confederation of Indian Industry, to give his address, please.
Thank you, Renuka. Dr. Saraswat, Professor Vijay Raghavan, Mr. Amitav Kant. I can't see the DG of WIPO, Mr. Tang, but I can definitely see Dr. Sacha Woons Vincent, the co-editor of the GII, Shobitro, our friends, great to see you. I can also see Aurobindo. Good afternoon, Aurobindo. And I can see Mr. Dheeraj Sinha. So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and good afternoon. Indeed, very, very great to participate in this Global Innovation Conclave and India launch of the GII 2021. I'll just try to capture some of the work that we are doing from CII, and I would take advantage of the presence of such dignitaries and luminaries, because we get inputs from you in terms of whether as an industry institution, what all more can one do, and what all one should focus on. So I would try in the next couple of minutes capture some of the work that we are doing in this space. And no doubt the Global Innovation Index 2021 is a great reference point for all countries to evaluate our innovation performance and make very informed innovation policy considerations. And as a founding partner of the GII, we from the CII, we are indeed very proud to be an integral part of India's journey towards an innovation-driven economy. And I must say that it's a great honor for us to once again host the India launch of the GII 2021, which comes sort of immediately after the worldwide launch of the GII in Geneva, which was just yesterday. And I remember 2019, we were privileged to host the first historic event of the launch of the GII from India. So really talking specifically, as I mentioned, a few points from the CII, we are designing, specific programs to enable innovation inclusiveness, and that's by really creating an enabling environment to breed innovations across industries. And for instance, CII in partnership with the Government of India, we launched the Prime Minister's Fellowship Scheme for Doctoral Research, where industry and government are co-funding PhD scholars to do industrial R&D. Another important initiative is the Global Innovation and Technology Alliance, GITA. Most of us are very familiar with it. It's with the Government of India, with the DST, to co-create, to co-innovate industrial R&D. At the subnational level, what we have been doing at CII, we have been really helping, or been also, if I can say, the front runner in establishing India's first set of PPP institutions in the states to facilitate IP protection by industry and by the innovators. And I must also talk a little bit about the CII's Industrial Innovation Framework and Awards, which was instituted way back in 2014 now, to identify and celebrate some top innovative Indian enterprises across industry segments and across sectors. And it has emerged today as a true change agent. We also have numerous initiatives to support innovation-driven entrepreneurship, like bringing startups to work together with the large business houses and corporates through the CII network. That's the advantage that we take of the large membership base that we have, in lines of the very successful sort of Silicon Valley model, if one can say. And as a next step, what we propose to do is to launch within CII innovation as a movement across the country by launching industry innovation rating and competitiveness index, which will help nurture innovation culture as well as enhance innovation competitiveness of our member companies of India Inc. So going forward, there are three submissions that I just wanted to mention. One, of course, that CII would very much like to closely work under the leadership of our government and in partnership to set up a national level, if I can say, think tank on innovation policies, and to be basically to be constituted as the Innovation Council or an Innovation Society of India. The group can really comprise, as we think, of industry leaders, academia, researchers, and innovation experts who will work together in really shaping innovation policies for India. The second point, which I wanted to place before this very August gathering, is that we would really like to propose to establish a national level task force to map the indicators of the GII especially the ones pertaining to us, to industry, that is. And the task force will then identify the areas of strength and the areas with gaps, and accordingly propose some suitable interventions. I'm sure that if this exercise we can do well, it will really help our country to catapult into the league of the top innovative nations. The third point and the last one is really the need for joint investment by government and industry, particularly for high risk and high investment projects. And we would, from CII, like to work again under the leadership and partnership with the government and under the stakeholders who are involved in financing innovations to formulate mechanism that will help de-risk our innovations. And this shall really, we feel, will go a long way to enhance India's overall R&D investments and also outputs. But I'd like to end by really congratulating all the stakeholders for this year's India launch of the GII, and great to have this hosted here. And we at in the industry at CII, we really look forward to working together to take India to the next level of innovation leadership in partnership with all the critical stakeholders who are present here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Banerjee. It is my pleasure now to invite Professor Soumitra Datta, author Global Innovation Index and Professor Cornell University, and Dr. Sacha Wunsch Vincent, co-editor Global Innovation Index and head Economics and Statistics Division, WIPO, to share their insights on India's performance in GII 2021. Over to you, gentlemen.
Thank you, distinguished dignitaries around the table, in particular also Sri Amitabh Kant and Ratan Batal. And big thanks, of course, in the name of Soumitra Datta, but also, of course, my Director General, Darren Tang, and WIPO altogether, for the strong support of CII, of course, to GII over the last decade, but in particular also to the Government of India for its very constructive engagement with the GII. So before we start, the presentation, just two remarks. So yesterday, of course, we had the press conference, and as you've seen, beyond the rankings, we highlighted India as one of the countries that has the real potential to change the innovation landscape for good. And this is maybe the second time we've done this since last year, because consistently now for a number of years, we've seen such progress of India in the rankings. And before I then go to the present, I also would like to thank India again for its constructive engagement with the GII. There's about 10 countries in the world only. There's 40, 50 countries in the world that use the GII on quite a regular level. But in terms of depth and level of engagement over the years, and with constructive, I mean, real sharing of what data is best to use, how can India improve the R&D statistics, how can we improve the GII? I think the collaboration with India has been really most fruitful. I'm very thankful for it in the name of WIPO. Now, with this in mind, let me start sharing the presentation. Let me know if that is good for you. Yeah, I think so. So yeah. First, so we're going to say essentially two things. One is generally covering a little bit of ground that was covered in yesterday's press conference as relates to the impact of the crisis on innovation. And then I'll turn it over to Soumitra, who will talk about the performance of India in particular, also noting that we don't have that much time. So the rationale and impact of the GII, of course, it's meant really to be used as a yardstick for innovation performance. It's meant to bring different forces in the government together via cross-ministerial task forces to pursue innovation policy jointly. And I think on this front, if I may say, and this is what I mentioned at the outset, what happened in India and what is happening today, because look at all the dignitaries around the table and the institutions involved, it's really been exactly achieving that in the context of India. It's also been quite helpful in many countries, including India, in improving the collection of innovation metrics. And I'm so thankful again to everybody around the table in CII. But I remember times when I was in OECD, before joining WIPO, when it was totally impossible to get business R&D statistics from India, corporate R&D statistics, which is really quite an important data point. And for 2 years now, we have that data point from India. So that is really a big breakthrough, both for, I think, the government of India, but also the GII. Now, in terms of the impact of the crisis on global innovation, so it's important to remember that based on our estimates, 2018 and 2019 were really high points of innovation on many fronts. On the front of R&D expenditures, there's growth of about 8% in 2019. It's a historic. On the basis of intellectual property filings, also historic growth, including in India, and also in terms of venture capital activity. So we entered the crisis really at a peak or a high point of innovation. So the question for us was really what will happen throughout the pandemic. And based on historic analysis, you would really have to expect a harsh slump of innovation expenditures in 2020 and 2021, just based on how the economic GDP has faltered in many economies. Now, surprisingly, what we've seen so far is possibly in the aggregate the opposite. So quite strong growth in corporate R&D expenditures. So for the top 2,500 R&D spenders, these are of course, Tata, Huawei, Apple. We've seen about 10% growth in the aggregate for corporations. And also on the level of countries, the major R&D spenders such as US, Germany, Australia, and China have seen important growth in 2020. I'm not sure about India, and I'm sure we'll hear about this in a minute, but we don't have those statistics at hand for 2020, 2019. But on this level, it's quite important. Now, of course, these are aggregate statistics, right? We're talking about the top players, the top corporations, the top countries. And this masks, of course, what is really happening in less developed economies and also lesser prominent companies, right? So just because Apple increases its R&D expenditures doesn't mean, or the United States, it doesn't mean that medium-sized enterprises in, let's say, Uganda, Rwanda, or even for that fact in India are not hit in a different sort of way. So that needs more assessment. Same is true for sectors. While we do see strong growth in ICT hardware sectors, in pharmaceutical, biotech sectors, and including, of course, strong growth in firms like Netflix or any sort of company or gaming companies which have really benefited from the pandemic. We also see strong falls in automotive sector, aviation sector, and also interestingly consumer goods sectors like Procter & Gamble, L'Oreal. So these are not small firms. These are Boeing, these are Mercedes, these are Procter & Gamble. So that's concerning. And here we're not really talking about small enterprises or even large enterprises in developing economies. So it's really something we have to watch a little bit. It's also true, of course, that the vast majority of countries in the world, about 7 out of 10, still spend less than 1% of GDP on R&D. And those countries in particular will be hit quite hard by the financial shortcomings, the budget hit that the COVID pandemic will have on the overall crisis. Okay, so with this, just a few points on the broad results of the GII, and then I'll pass it to Sumitra. Now, the headline level results that we presented yesterday were that Switzerland, Sweden, the US and the UK still lead the innovation rankings in the world. So there's no change. The big change is Korea jumping forward to slot number 5. And I invite you to look at Korea in detail because Korea couldn't really expand much on tech exports, on any sort of innovative products. You know, the Samsungs and the LGs, Hyundais are already at the top. But what Korea really benefited from this year is strong advances in the creative economy. So the K-pop phenomenon, creative services, etc., trademarks, and strong brands, by the way, which is also an important angle for India. So strong, recognizable brands around the world have really helped. So China was a big other news, moving from 14 to 12. It's kind of expected, of course, given the strong increases. But still, you know, once you get beyond the top 15, the field is quite narrow, right? So to make even further advances, and maybe they will peak the top 10, you know, eventually. Finally, then I'll pass it to Sumitra. We highlighted 4 economies, and those are Turkey, Vietnam, India, and the Philippines, who are the emerging economies who have proven that they will change the global innovation landscape for good. I mean, frankly, India, of course, is a different sort of country than Vietnam or Philippines on many counts. So it's really, you know, innovation superpower, if you like, and of course much bigger in terms of economic scale. But it's the second time in a row, and in terms of the press releases that we've highlighted this, and this is because of the consistent increase. So with this in mind, let me pass the floor to Sumitra, who will deal with India and the GII. And if you allow, Sumitra, I will highlight your slides.
Thank you very much, Shasha, and thank you very much to CII and all the eminent dignitaries from India to take part in this India launch of the GII. I must just give a small warning. I am actually at the airport in Paris, and occasionally there are some public announcements. So if one public announcement starts, you might find me stopping for 15-20 seconds while that ends. So let me first, of course, congratulate India and everyone who's associated with the Indian ecosystem that this year we have seen India's rank go up from 48th position last year to 46th position. And this has been a very steady rise over the last few years. As you see in the comment by Honorable Prime Minister Modi, India's rise in the Global Innovation Index has been 35 places from 81st position to 46th in just under 6 years. So it's actually very, very significant progress made by India over the last few years. So I think everyone in the Indian innovation ecosystem deserves congratulations for that. I'm going to just keep quiet for 2 minutes, one minute, please, now, because of the noise behind. Shasha, do you want to just comment on this slide while the noise finishes?
Thank you, Sumitra. Yeah, indeed, it's a graphical illustration of the jumps that I have mentioned and that you have mentioned so far. We know that we have to be careful with year-on-year comparisons while using the GII, because as you all know, there's methodological changes, data changes on the country end, but also the GII end. But still, it's quite illustrative of the massive jump that has occurred. Just on the jump of India in particular, it also illustrates, and the blog post or the comments of Minister Goyal and also Prime Minister Modi are quite illustrative. Of course, Sumitra and I know that India has much bigger plans in terms of forward jumps, and that sometimes there is slight disappointment that it's not 10, 15 jumps or so forth into the top 30 and so. But if I might say so, on a more private level, for me, it's much more comforting to see the steady increase of India. I'd much rather prefer this personally than seeing India, jump forward 15, backwards 15, forward 15. So in a way, India is now taking the path of other countries that have consistently increased. And I think that is most likely the more constructive path forward. And I'm sure in that on that path and with this speed, India will reach the positions that it wishes and deserves. Back to you,
Sasha, do you mind just going back to the previous slide, 10 seconds? So there's one thing that I wanted to point out. If you look at the second and third columns, we in the GII compute the innovation inputs into innovation, sort of the GII measure, and the innovation outputs. And what you see is that for many economies, in fact, the innovation inputs is higher ranked than the innovation outputs, which means that many economies actually put in a lot of resources, but the actual outputs are less proportionately. In India, it is very interesting. If you look at it, the innovation outputs are higher ranked than the innovation inputs. So what it means is that really in India, we are having some pockets of excellence. So there are some pockets of excellence in India, which are actually overachieving, and that is causing this, I think, a very good performance of India. Shasha, if you can jump to 2 slides more. So as part of our study, we also look at the relationship between the GII score and the wealth level or GDP per capita. And here the green sort of big circle is India. The size of circles, of course, is the population of the country. And you see the regression line out there. So once again, you see that India is and has consistently been for the last more than 10 years, a outperformer relative to others at the same level of development. And this once again indicates the tremendous progress that the Indian government is making, that the industry is making in terms of emphasizing innovation in their own sort of development path. The next slide, please, Sasha. We also compare India to other economies. And if you look at the average scores of India along the various dimensions and compare it to other lower middle income economies, what we find is that India is overperforming and doing better than other similar low middle income economies. The outer line, India, by the way, out here is the second line. The outermost line is the top 10 economies in the world. So you see there's a gap out here between the top 10 and India. But certainly what you see is that India is outperforming, and certainly there are also areas of excellence, like, for example, in the knowledge and technology outputs, where India has relatively high score. In the market sophistication, India has a high score, and other elements also India is doing well. The next slide, please, Sasha. Now, this is a number of different factors, from the GII, we have different variables. You can compare the strengths and weaknesses. I don't really want to go into specific details out here, but clearly you see there are some areas where India stands out in performance. I think one thing which is interesting is you look at the variable 2.3.4 on the left-hand side, the third row, the QS university ranking, the top 3. And India is ranked 23rd now, which I think is excellent news. So which means that Indian universities, at least the top ones, are improving and becoming better and better. And this is very important for India's innovation drive. Now, you also see that India is ranked number 1 on the bottom left-hand side, the second row from the bottom, in ICT services exports. It's not a big surprise. So clearly that's an area where tremendous progress has been made. Now, at the same time, you find areas where things have to improve. For example, on the right-hand side, you see the school life expectancy or the pupil-teacher ratio are elements where we can certainly improve. But there's tremendous progress being made, and the government of India has made a lot of different initiatives, and I'm sure that there'll be more positive progress in these areas in the coming years. The next slide, please, and that's our last slide. So as Shasha said, COVID-19 has fostered innovation, has, I think, encouraged countries like India and others to invest more in innovation. There is a lot that has happened. Clearly, the number of unicorns in India has been very, very high in the last several months. And also what you find is that you find many other examples of science-based and technology-based research that is happening in India. Now, technology will be an important element of the success of nations that will rise in the future, and India has a strength in that area. So I think it's a very good strength that we can develop further. So I think on the whole, the message for India is a very positive one. India is making steady progress. India has strengths in key areas of science and technology, and certainly the hope is that this will continue in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Shoumitro and Dr. Sacha. We will now have the formal virtual launch of the GII 2021. Can we have the video, please? Ladies and gentlemen, this report can be downloaded from the WIPO website, www.wipo.int. I now request Mr. Darren Tang, Director General, World Intellectual Property Organization, for his address, please.
Good afternoon. Let me start by thanking the Government of India, and in particular the NITI Aayog, the Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor, and the Confederation of Indian Industry for hosting this year's India launch of WIPO's Global Innovation Index. In particular, WIPO would like to acknowledge the contribution of Sri Amitabh Kant, CEO of NITI Aayog, Dr. Arabinda Mitra, Scientific Secretary to the Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India, Mr. Ratan Watal, Member Secretary to the Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister, Professor K. Vijay Raghavan, Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India, Dr. V.K. Saraswat, Member of NITI Aayog, and Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General of the Confederation of Indian Industry. We are pleased to release the 2021 edition of the GII in your presence. Innovation is a central driver of economic growth and development, generating real impact for societies and communities around the world. And the GII is one example of how we at WIPO use our expertise and innovation to support member states to grow and develop. As part of this, a few dozen countries, including India, work with us and work with the GII to improve their national and regional innovation performance. And this helps to generate concrete innovation targets at the sector or even at the enterprise level, including, for example, using it to spur innovation in food security and distribution in countries like Philippines, Sri Lanka, and Uganda, using it to promote medical innovations in countries like Ghana, Thailand, and in different parts of Latin America, and using it to promote software and pharmaceutical innovation in India. This year's edition of the GII is being released in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. And while the pandemic continues to severely impact lives and livelihoods around the world, it has also given us many examples of human ingenuity, resilience, and adaptability. Prior to the pandemic, global investments in innovation reached an all-time high. So when COVID-19 hit, a big question was what its effect on innovation would be. And this year's GII finds that innovative sectors of the global economy have remained strong despite severe disruptions. Indeed, governments and enterprises in many parts of the world have scaled up their investments in innovation during the pandemic. IP filings, scientific output, R&D expenditure, and venture capital deals all grew around the world in 2020. We also know that innovation is crucial to overcoming the common challenges that we face and to bidding back better. It is therefore vital that policymakers, practitioners, and other stakeholders are armed with the data they need to strengthen innovation policies and ecosystems. And here's where we think the real power of the GII lies, as your guide for building a more innovative, creative, and prosperous future for your country and for the world. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to turn to India itself. In recent years, WIPO has partnered with the government of India to refine innovation metrics and sustain India's innovation agenda. In particular, the Indian Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, the National Institution for Transforming India, and the Confederation of Indian Industry have been supportive partners, and we believe that this collaboration is paying off. India now ranks 46 amongst the 132 economies featured in the 2021 GII, up from 48 last year and from 81st in 2015. India is consistently amongst the top global performers in areas such as ICT services exports, the quality of universities and scientific publications, the number of graduates in science and engineering, and a new GII indicator on industry diversification. Reflecting these strengths, Bengaluru is today recognized as one of the world's fastest growing tech hubs, home to 19 unicorns such as Ola Cabs, Swiggy, and Grab, as well as over 60 Sunicorns, startups valued at over $100 million. The continued development of India's innovation ecosystem is a testament to the high priority India places on supporting innovation across the country, across society. And in this regard, WIPO would like to recognize the leadership of Prime Minister Modi and Minister Goyal and the Indian government's continued commitment to innovation. In a world where technology, innovation, and creativity will continue to reshape the global economy, WIPO looks forward to our continued collaboration with our friends and partners across India. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tang. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have the privilege to invite Mr. Amitabh Kant, CEO NITI Aayog, for his special address, please.
Dr. Saraswat, Principal Scientific Advisor, Mr. Chandjeet Banerjee, Mr. Sumitra Datta, Dr. Bush, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Technology and innovation are among the primary engines of India's growth and economic development. Many of today's significant innovations are being created by businesses that are almost entirely digital. The pandemic has changed the rules of the game forever. As was shown, we've jumped up from 81 rank in 2015 to 46 rank this year, despite the pandemic. We've been experiencing disruption in business models across industries led by digitization, and digitization has provided an impetus, especially to the startup ecosystem in India, and it is radically transforming India by catapulting grassroots level innovation. This year, we've already had 24 unicorns, which is a global record. Innovation has played a central role in the development of nations and society, and therefore, India is determined to become a more and more technology and an innovative nation. During the pandemic, this importance became even more pronounced as the entire innovation community came together to meet the challenges of the nation. Therefore, the theme of this year's Global Innovation Index is really critical. Starting from large industries which made innovative changes to their production processes and supplied the needs of the hour, through academia and centers of excellence that contributed their expert analysis of the tidal wave of solutions, to startups and individual innovators who made these solutions and pushed them out to the people. Everyone has contributed to respond to this situation. It was a mission mode approach which has driven innovation in India. And actually, the Global Innovation Index does not capture the vast number of innovations that have been carried through the platforms in India. The JAM Trinity, the Aadhaar, the Unified Payment Interface, the GEM, all these are unique innovations for India. And therefore, the way we ensure direct benefit transfer, the way we do digital transactions, the way government does its procurement, all these are being digitally driven by India. And if all these are taken into consideration, India will see a huge jump in its ranking. The Prime Minister, in his speech on Independence Day, observed that Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas would also require Sabka Prayas. And that is in order to bring about the benefits of development for everybody. And this is only possible with the use of technology and innovation reaching the grassroots level. Our Atal Innovation Mission is doing exactly that, spreading the spirit of culture and the ethos of innovation in schools and colleges and in rural areas. And therefore, we are disrupting the existing education system and ensuring that we build bridges between industry and academia here. And not just academia in higher education, but right from school education. Over 7,500 Atal incubation centers and tinkering labs have made this possible. The Atal New India challenges have focused the efforts of innovative startups into key sectors and important technology development. Similarly, we are working to build bridges between key sectors of the industry and between the lab to the market. We have also gone a step further and initiated collaborative projects in partnership with other nations across a vast range of areas like blue economy, clean energy, health tech, and deep space. Therefore, through such international collaboration, India is working towards this goal of becoming a major driver of innovation. In line with this, our policies aim to transform India into a vibrant ecosystem for innovators by encouraging new businesses, attracting global talent and investments, and undertaking socially conscious cutting-edge research. We envisage India as a go-to destination for those with innovative aspirations. The NITI Aayog, which has worked in very close partnership with WIPO as far as Global Innovation Index is concerned, and I want to particularly compliment Mr. Neeraj Sinha, and his team, which has interacted on a regular basis with WIPO. And therefore, NITI Aayog is focused on delivering outputs of innovation to those who can benefit the most from it. Through its aspirational district program, innovative solutions like green roads and solar-powered households have been implemented in the nation's backward districts, leading to socio-economic growth. The Global Innovation Index has been a global benchmark that holistically measures innovation performance in multi-dimensions. This outcome from this report goes a long way to support and develop policies and design concrete next steps. We look forward to the insights that the 2021 report shall uncover, and I'm pleased to say that the nation, especially the NITI Aayog, remains focused on improving the innovation performance of the country and in the Global Innovation Index. We will work closely with WIPO to ensure that all the innovations that India has undertaken in the field of technology are all embedded very strongly in the Global Innovation Index. And to reiterate my message on collaborative innovation, I encourage all the stakeholders to join hands with us in the journey ahead. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. My compliments to CII for organizing this launch event.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Thank you very much. I now have the pleasure of inviting Professor Vijay Raghavan, Principal Scientific Advisor, Government of India, for his address, please.
Thank you, Ms. Renika Singh. Mr. Darren Tang, Director General, World Intellectual Property Organization, Dr. V.K. Saraswat, Member NITI Aayog, Mr. Amitabh Kant, CEO NITI Aayog, Mr. Vipin Sondhi, Chairman CII Committee on Tech, Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General CII, Professor Soumitra Datta from Cornell University, Dr. Sasha Wunsch-Vincent from the WIPO, and everyone else over here. I'm delighted to be here today to address this gathering on the launch of the Global Innovation Index 2021, the India launch. It's very heartening, as Amitabh and others have pointed out, to see India's steady rise. And I congratulate WIPO for engaging so closely with NITI Aayog and all the colleagues there, Dr. Vijay Saraswat, Dr. Amitabh Kant, Dr. Neeraj Sinha, and my office, Dr. Aravinda Mitra, and other colleagues over here. Now, when you look at innovation indices and see where India was and where India is, there's a matter of great pride, and all of us have mentioned that. The principal challenge, which Sasha very politely pointed out, is going from this level further up requires very important major changes and not just fixing all the obvious problems of various kinds. And I'd like to spend a couple of minutes to say how India is addressing those major changes and why I think we can actually climb up even further very steadily, even though it's in theory difficult. As we've heard from Amitabh, the digital push has been extraordinary. The UPI, the Universal Payment Indices, the Aadhaar, the COVID portal for vaccination is quite extraordinary in terms of its phenomenal reach and logging of all the vaccination which takes place, and integrates wonderfully the hard task of vaccination with the equally hard task of recording everything. So these are examples, and there are many, many more, the Jam Trinity also, which alludes to India's use of digital capabilities in an enormous way. This size and scale is something which no other country has, and India has mastered the ability to do this. Now the challenge is something at a different level. All of this needs to now work with another stage where the technology reach needs to go into the broader ecosystem in our country, and our research needs to go into the broader ecosystem. So we have, at one level, some extraordinary programs which the government has initiated in the past 5 years. These are, for example, the Cyber Physical Mission, which is spearheaded by the Department of Science and Technology, which looks at IoT and a whole range of technologies in partnership with industry and academia to take India into the next generation in these kind of areas. The supercomputing mission, which Dr. Saraswat guides, is being spearheaded by the Department of Science and Technology and the Ministry of IT, and is taking both compute, memory, as well as graphics, AI interfaces into such a large scale that these will have enormous impact in health, agriculture, education, and so on. So this is going to be transformative. The artificial intelligence mission will be launched soon and will complement this and take India forward into this sector, again, looking from core R&D right up to industry interaction. So these are very major initiatives that should be transformed. Now, there's yet one more mission I'll mention, which has just been launched, which is a deep ocean mission, which will link India's bioeconomy to exploration and research in the deep ocean, and that's spearheaded by the Ministry of Earth Sciences. So these are huge investments in R&D into our ecosystem. Now, the principal challenge which India will overcome over the next few years relates to the reach of its R&D capabilities. I'd like to say that India is, a salt and pepper mix of extraordinary capabilities and extraordinary possibilities. The pepper is our national labs, which you see in every corner of the country, our institutes of technology, our Indian Agricultural Research Institutes, Indian Council of Medical Research Institutes, and our central universities. The salt is the state university system and our colleges where 90% of our students go to. The salt and pepper now needs to be connected very, very tightly, and that will transform innovation in India. The reach of the Atal Tinkering Labs has been enormous. That will scale up even more in schools. But colleges will also be involved in research, as will state universities, and research in central universities will be enhanced. This thrust coming from the new national education policy and the National Research Foundation will allow India to jump many, many steps in our innovation rankings steadily. So I'm very optimistic about us going forward. I see a great synergy, a desire to work together, and an ability to work together. The programs to work together are in place, and now we need to ensure that these programs reach a broader ecosystem by expanding the footprint of science and technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Raghavan. I now request Dr. V.K. Saraswat, Member NITI Aayog, to address us, please.
eminent dignitaries in this conference and webinar today, where we are launching Global Innovation Index for India 2021. My heartiest congratulations to all the innovators who have made this particular jump possible from last 81 in 2015 to today's 46. And I think the wonderful work which has been done by NITI Aayog in coordinating this particular activity, I think under the leadership of Mr. Amitabh Kant and Mr. Raman, who has been taking care of the Atal Innovation Mission. I think these are the gentlemen who have to be really congratulated for this great work. You all know that creativity and innovation capabilities are the growth drivers for the nation. Creativity is about generating ideas, while innovation means taking creativity to the implementation and generating the value. And almost I think all nations have now understood that innovation is fundamental to the economic well-being and are finding new ways to advance their innovation agenda. And it was very clearly brought out from the kind of ramping which has taken place in various countries, like it is Vietnam or China or Turkey or others from the graphs which were shown earlier, that yes, every nation is now trying to change the slope of the growth as far as innovation is concerned. And this was also, this growth which has happened in India was certainly infused by our Honorable Prime Minister when he spoke in 2015 in one of the platforms at the Indian Science Congress. He said that our long-term global competitiveness will depend not only on replicating what others have done, but will emerge through a process of sustained development and innovation. Indian innovation ecosystem, which has been pursued so far, as all of you know, is based on knowledge economy. It is also driven by fundamental research and commercial economy, driven by marketplace. And no wonder that because of these efforts, what Professor Vijay Raghavan has mentioned and Mr. Amitabh Kant has mentioned, we are today at 46 from 131. There are several initiatives which have been taken by the government of India to promote innovation ecosystems, like opening new research institutions, National Research Foundation, college and new universities, coupled with initiatives like Atal Innovation Mission, Startup India, accelerating growth of new India's innovations like Agni, and the new intellectual property rights programs and so on. All this certainly has helped considerably in making the change what has taken place in our country. All of you know probably that today, currently, world is in the sixth wave of innovation, driven by disruptive technologies like artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, machine learning, deep learning, robotics, biomimicry, green nanotechnologies, and to top it all, technologies for the sustainable development or sustainability. One of the items which I would like to mention here, and that really needs the attention of the innovators today, is about the semiconductors. During the pandemic, we noticed there is a tremendous disruption in this particular area, which has caused tremendous impact as far as the output of various industries is concerned. Our government is planning a focused innovation ecosystem around semiconductors, and academia and industry need to invest in their efforts to make us truly Atmanirbhar in this respective aspect. Our manufacturing industries had experienced the shortage of semiconductors due to global supply chain disruptions when pandemic was at its peak. Hence, it is imperative for us to innovate and emerge as a force in semiconductor chip design and manufacture, given its strategic importance. In addition to that, there are major national priorities on which the country would be now focusing, and there will be a certainly change as far as our trajectory is concerned. For example, there are priorities in the areas of alternate energy sources, clean energy, design and make in India, defense and aerospace sector, improving lives with IT-enabled healthcare, which we tried to do during the pandemic, and of course, the new focus on the e-mobility, methanol economy, biofuels, gasification, variety of things, and the new emerging grand challenges of the 21st century, like the Internet of Things, the smart cities, additive manufacturing, Industry 4.0, cyber physical systems. The list is very large. But the difference I would like to point out here is with respect to our focus. So far, India's focus has been innovations purely working around what we call as service-oriented innovation. And we have done exceedingly well, which is why we have jumped from 81 to 46. But as I think brought out in the earlier presentations, the journey from now onwards is going to not only depend on the service-oriented innovations, but it has to be on the deep science and engineering innovation, which is going to bring a higher value and probably help us to change the slope of the growth of innovation index in our country. And that is where the focus should be there. And for which I think the main thing is, how do we carry out this kind of a change? And as Professor Vijayaraghavan mentioned, our National Education Policy 2020 will be the real game changer for future, as it will embed learning with innovation and research in the domain of interest. There are several aspects like vocation research, technology, flexibility that will promote a true ecosystem of knowledge economy. Design thinking as a strategy for innovation would be promoted as part of our education curriculum and ecosystem. And I'm sure that is going to help us into product innovation. Innovation via big companies and public sector would lead to innovation by startup, which is open, collaborative, and with external resources. We also have, as brought out by many speakers earlier, that India has done very well as far as the startups are concerned. And stakeholders in the Indian startup ecosystem are pivoting to channelize innovation in healthcare, technology to lead the way, and insurance sector, a new path for mobility, reshaping of learning through the India's ED tech sector, which is the second biggest in the world, is valued on almost about $2 billion and expected to go to almost $12.65 billion in 2025. E-commerce, work from home, these are some of the things which are going to really make all the difference. If a journey of growth has to be continued, now is the time for startups to display resilience and creativity. Only when they think outside the box can they innovate and create future opportunities for business. Actually, what we have seen during this pandemic, that the core strength for innovating lies in teamwork. Although pandemic has tested us in many dimensions, but our core strength lies in teamwork, where we supported each other by going out of the way. There are several examples to quote, like DRDO designing mobile testing labs and ventilators, IIT Kharagpur developed portable RT-PCR test kit, industries upgrading their oxygen generating plants to produce and medical oxygen, and also setting up new plants, Indian Railways coming to rescue by transporting liquid oxygen, and many more such initiatives, which really showed a great teamwork. It was a team India where government, academia, and industry were fighting together for a common cause. One of the most things I think Mr. Amitabh Kant and Professor Vijayaraghavan both talked about is grassroots innovation. For this, India is now going to focus on encouraging the growth of the micro venture finance, expanding the public pool of innovation by providing financial incentives to innovators, recognize, respect, and reward innovators where they live, create community fabrication workshops in the homes of the innovators, build partnerships between formal and informal science, and invest in children idea as part of what we are doing in the Adult Innovation Mission as a part of an inverted model of innovation, and mobilize university students to address unsolved social problems. Some of the government initiatives which have been already taken are like introducing tax incentives, ensuring a favorable tax rate for expenses incurred for corporate teams, allocating a portion of profits to fund startups. Several PSUs in oil and gas sectors are already doing this, allowing CSR funds to be used to finance corporate innovation programs, designing funding programs for startups by strengthening the roles of public funding, and formulate government procurement and global trade rules that are more open to the startups and the innovators. So the way forward is bringing investment in the research and development, which I mentioned to you, India is already doing. Probably we have to increase the amount of investment which we are doing. If nurtured well, such alliances will decrease India's dependency on innovation and imports, and hence making our products suitable for a more globalized market. I'm happy to see that Global Innovation Index is serving as a very comprehensive report, as it takes a holistic view of the innovation ecosystem. It not only depicts our standing on a global scale on various parameters, but also evaluates and ranks our innovation system. All the above initiatives, coupled with phenomenal research and innovation from the institutions, industry, and society, are increasing positioning India as an innovation and knowledge hub. India has got all the ingredients and potential required for innovation. Let us convert this potential into reality by establishing strong academia, industry, and national R&D labs collaboration, and work with the global community to take us to the top in the innovation ladder. Thank you very much, and thank CII and all others for making this event very successful and showing India the right path for how to reach the higher in the innovation ladder. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you, Dr. Saraswat, for your remarks. And now for the concluding remarks, I'd like to once again invite Mr. Vipin Sondhi to do the honors, please.
Thank you, Renuka, again. And increasingly, India as a nation is making and will make an overarching contribution in innovation, thereby driving socio-economic and all-inclusive growth. And we've been very privileged today to have an eminent group representing this innovation ecosystem, straddling government, industry. I think we've missed academia, extremely important, as well as our global stakeholders all together. I'd like to extend a very special word of gratitude to Dr. V.K. Saraswat, sir. You mentioned teamwork, so important in all of this, the Iron Man of India's technological endeavor, principal architect of the ballistic missile defense program of India. Thank you, Dr. Saraswat, for being with us today. Very honored, sir, Professor Vijay Raghavan, principal scientific advisor to the government of India. We are indebted to you in many fora. We've had an opportunity for taking up science, technology, innovation as one of the government's topmost priorities. So thank you, Professor Vijay Raghavan, for your time and for your presence. And a special word of gratitude to Mr. Amitabh Kant. You've been a remarkable beacon of support, energy, dynamism for innovation over the years. Have done a lot yourself, sir, and we're truly grateful for your personal presence and your thought that a lot of what the government of India does in terms of JAM or DBT or many other innovative, large public service innovative programs could well be included in GII. Especially thankful to Mr. Darren Tang, Director General WIPO, for your valuable address today, and congratulate and thank Professor Soumitra and Dr. Sacha, your entire team at WIPO, and all GII partners for your passionate stewardship and in-depth research in bringing out the GII 2021 report. And I'm sure that report shall inspire a thriving, sustainable innovation ecosystem in India. And it's always a happy moment, a proud moment for CII to collaborate with WIPO for the India launch of the GII. And thank you, CB, for leading this from CII. I'd like to give and convey my sincere thanks to NITI Aayog, Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor, for their valued partnership in this significant initiative, thereby leading India towards an innovation-driven economy. And I'd like to thank all our esteemed guests, dignitaries from various countries who've come over today to be part of this launch. And may I conclude by saying that we must be proud of what we've achieved, but there's a lot to be done, and we will do this together. I once again thank you, congratulate you, the CII Secretariat, and everybody else who's participated in India and across this world on this occasion. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you, Mr. Sondhi. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we come to a close of this session. Appreciate your continued support and participation. Thank you for being with us. Have a good day. We close the session now.